please, God. No. No. Eliza didn't know it yet, but Alex had already penned her a goodbye letter, just in case things ended poorly during his duel with the Vice President of the United States. It read, "This letter, my very dear Eliza, will not be delivered to you unless I shall first have terminated my earthly career. The consolations of religion, my beloved, can alone support you. Fly to the bosom of your God and be comforted. With my last idea, I shall cherish the sweet hope of meeting you in a better world. Adieu, best of wives and best of women. Embrace all my darling children for me. Ever yours, A.H." You, my friend, may have heard a version of this story before, but there's one character in this scene who you may not have met. A man who, if we shift our focus just slightly to the edge of Hamilton's deathbed, opens a portal to a new and fascinating drama. A man whose constant presence in the lives of the Hamiltons gave him access to the inner sanctum on this, the most somber of occasions. A man so overcome with his own emotion at losing his friend that tears openly streamed down his face and he had to excuse himself to regain control. His name was Gouverneur Morris. When Hamilton died at the young age of 47 or 49, depending on which record of his birth is to be believed, it was Morris who bore witness to the rudimentary autopsy performed then and there. The doctor fished through Hamilton's abdominal cavity for the bullet that had hit a rib, pierced his liver, and tore through his diaphragm before stopping in his spinal column. At the funeral service, Gouverneur Morris sat on the altar of Trinity Church in Manhattan, facing the mourners who had assembled to send Hamilton off into eternity. The size of the crowd was so large that when Morris rose to speak, people strained to hear. The sea of bodies, clad in wigs and wool, absorbed the sound of his voice, and in the back of the sanctuary, Morris seemed to be whispering. He admitted to the audience that he was struggling to keep it together, and that, "I fear that instead of the language of a public speaker, you will hear only the lamentations of a bewailing friend." Morris spoke of the Constitutional Convention, the private meetings where he and Hamilton had played integral roles 17 years before. Hamilton had been afraid that their efforts at the convention, in which a nation was birthed after the travail of a hot summer's labor, would not be enough. Would the Union hold? Would the experiment in a new democracy ultimately prove successful? He said, in signing that compact, he expressed his apprehension that it did not contain sufficient means of strength for its own preservation, and that in consequence we should share the fate of many other republics and pass through anarchy to despotism. We hoped better things. Perhaps more than any other pair of founders, Morris and Hamilton were intellectual equals. Morris matched Hamilton's wit and his skill in the law, and the two bonded over their loyalty to George Washington during the Revolution. While Hamilton was a fatherless immigrant, Morris was raised at an estate that bore his family's name, Morrisania. Hamilton was 5'6" and slight of build, while Morris was over 6 feet and portly. New York would be nothing without the both of them. While Hamilton wrote its financial systems into existence, Morris laid out the grid system that still governs its streets. Gouverneur Morris, a friend so dear that he drew near to Hamilton in the hour of his death, didn't make it into the Broadway show. He was a scholar, a diplomat, a patriot, all terms that were chiseled onto his headstone when he died a dozen years after eulogizing Hamilton. But no one profits from his likeness. You probably wouldn't recognize him without a caption below his portrait. And that's a shame, because without Gouverneur Morris, America as we know it would not exist. But before we get into